YouTube. Isn't technology crazy? Hey, it's a sitting ovation for Guadalis Del Carmen or Guadalis Del Carmen. I shouldn't tease you about that.
Oh, wow, I sound like such a little kid.
Well, but you were a little kid at that time, but it was interesting because the two pieces that I had queued up that I thought that maybe I was going to play for you, but only with your permission, had to do with gangs and diversity, and I decided to play the whole gang thing. And then the background is Humble Park Suite from Paul Oakenfold, which is off the soundtrack for um, Nothing Like the Holidays, which was filmed in Humble Park.
Yeah.
Beautiful Humble Heights.
Yeah.
Lots of kids didn't quite make it out of there, and then lots of kids are actually making it out of there. And Guadalis, you're one of them who's actually made it out of there. And it was interesting because we joked off the air about the Boys and Girls Club being kind of a footnote to that speech, but I'm sure that it really wasn't a footnote in terms of you and the community you were in.
No, it definitely wasn't. I mean, I was part of Boys and Girls Club for many, many years, and I think it offered, a great alternative to what was in the neighborhood. If you were into art, there was art there for you. Sports was there, and I did a lot of drama there. Or if you needed a job, I worked at Boys and Girls Club for a few years too. So, it's not just a little footnote. It was definitely a great alternative to
Like your first gig for like $2 an hour.
It was.
Well, my first gig was there for $1 an hour, and I ended up running my own club for a few years,
Look
so that
at
was pretty
that.
neat itself.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the things that you've done that's been fairly unique. The first time I saw you on stage, and I took forever to see you on stage, but I actually went to see Crime Against Humanity, and you were in this over at Pater Baño on Division Street. Not only was it occasionally vulgar, and sometimes, wait a minute, that's Guadalis, but the education that people got from that production probably wasn't talked about enough.
No.
As an actress, as a performer, was it a learning process for you as well? Because that's a lot of stuff that nobody talks about.
It was. It really was a learning process. I mean, I had done another production at the Bate a few months before that, and it was actually a piece by Tato Laviera, who's a pretty well-known New Rican author. And one of the producers of that production, Mike had me come in and do. They were doing an East Coast tour of Crime Against Humanity, so we went to New York, Connecticut, Philly, Boston, and we did productions there. And I really had very little knowledge of what is the Puerto Rican political prisoners. Um, I've heard of them. I've seen books of them, but I never really understood what was going on or what happened. So definitely doing that piece kind of oriented me on that struggle and trying to get the last two prisoners out. And the piece itself, I mean, it was just an amazing experience. The Crime
And
Against Humanity.
that really was an emotional thing. I
It
mean,
really
if you
was.
didn't come, you either came out of the Batey Baño charged up about stuff or wanting to learn more or just upset about some of the things that you were seeing because
Yeah.
everything was based on true fact.
Exactly. It was monologue pieces that each of the actors would take on, and they would, tell the story, and those were, for the most part, verbatim from, the political prisoners. Mike went and he, interviewed him, and a couple of the other actors and behind the scenes people went and they interviewed these prisoners and ex-prisoners and got their stories, and then he, adapted it to, be in a play. And we had our own, traveling set. We had a bed and a toilet and, a little sink, and the jail bars, and that's what we traveled with. And we would put this on, and it was like being in a real jail cell. We had our jail uniforms and, whatever little pieces we needed to give life to the story.
And it is a shame because most Latinos, Puerto Ricans in particular, and the youth of Humboldt Park have no idea. And I'm glad that there's plays like that and groups like the Brown Girls that are doing these things because at least it's doing some educational pieces. It almost seems as if the roles that you have, at least I've been aware of, there's always been a cultural piece or an educational piece or some kind of, you know, moralistic fiber to it. And I don't know what else you've done. Maybe you're about to tell me. But are you purposely selecting roles that have substance, or is it just the way it's happened?
A little bit of both.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Have
no,
you
no, I
looked
know
at your
exactly.
resume and said, "Wow, this is really substantial stuff"?
You know, it was not until you actually said it that I was like, oh, yeah, huh. But I mean, I've done other stuff too, that it's not necessarily educational. I've also done, well, maybe it has been. Wow, I've done two films, two independent Chicago-based films. One of them is called Logos. It actually comes out next year, and it's a Christian science fiction action thriller film.
Ooh, you're like John Travolta with dreadlocks all over again.
Yeah. There's a lot of combat and a lot of fighting in that one. And then I did another one, just wrapped up not too long ago, How Death Became Them, and it's actually based on the writer and main actor's life story of gangs and violence and things like that, and how he wanted to come out of that. And I played his main love interest. Um, but yeah, it just seems that a lot of the work that I've done has had some kind of story, moral behind it. And not all of it has been, on purpose. You know, Crime Against Humanity, I was brought on to do that. Yes, I did choose to do that. So, I did have a conscious decision in that. But, I was asked to be in it, and I was asked to be in, Aguijon. So it's kind of been both. Me deciding to do it and then, being brought on. That's why I say I've been really blessed to have people like that have wanted me to work with them.
Well, it's pretty neat to have been able to watch you grow up from that confident little kid at the speech contest to the neighborhood kid that was just funning around to the girl that used to moan and groan about whatever they were doing to you in the locker room or the courtroom, and now you're like this full-grown model slash actress slash all-around performer, and it's pretty neat that you've been able to do all this. What do you see as your ultimate goal in terms of performing?
Um, well, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't want to, do Hollywood. I definitely want to do, big
Well, you've been
films.
out there, haven't you?
I did actually. I went to a couple of times. I went to Hollywood to I auditioned for Cadillac Records, which is that movie Beyonce's in.
Right.
Um,
Well, she knows all about Chess Records being from Houston.
yes. Well, no, it was here in Chicago,
I
man.
know,
That's why
that's
I was
my
like,
point.
yeah, no, it was here in Chicago, so it was definitely important for me to go out there and be like, hey, this needs to be done in Chicago, not here. What's going on? But I didn't get the role, which is okay. But I had a wonderful experience. I met Lily Sobieski, and she's
She's
an
like a little
awesome
baby
actress.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah, she looks a lot like Helen Hunt, but she is incredibly down to earth and
Oh
really
yeah.
nice. I mean, she was just so nice. I was like, oh my gosh, and she was just like, good luck on everything. I really, really hope that everything works out for you. And I was just, wow, thanks.
See, you should have invited her over here, and then you would have given her a joyride.
Yeah, I guess.
Get it? Joyride. A
Ha
return.
ha ha.
More Club Kids Radio in a minute.
Denzel Washington for the Boys and Girls Clubs.
If that looks good, then we put it on the tube, see, no?